is FTP, and it'll drop it. Same thing if that was the destination port. Alright, so it was a lot of information, but it's pretty straightforward on the things that we can filter on. So let's move on to the next section. You know what? Before we go, let me show you this in the router. Alright, I'm going to pull up my router. Let me log in. Get into the privilege mode. And enter into conft, which again is the configure via terminal. Once I'm into the conft, I'm going to type out the command access list 100 permit. I know you're not really familiar with this command as of yet. It's the next section where we're going to cover it in detail. But for now, bear with me. I'm going to show you where we can fill in some of these IP header fields within our access list. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to go with the magic question mark. I love this because it shows you all the options available at this point in the command. Alright, here we see it. We had talked about protocols earlier within the protocol field. The ones I had named were IP, TCP, UDP, and ICMP. You can see some others here. In fact, you'll note that some of these are routing protocols like EIGRP versus routed protocols like IP. So, there's a mix of both in here. So excellent. Let's say, for the sake of showing you this command, we're going to opt for TCP and move on and go with the question mark again. Just as we had stated before, it wants a source address. It actually should state source IP address. You can opt for any or a specific host, but this is the source field. So for the purposes, again, of our example, we're going to opt for any and move on to the next field. This is where they want the destination IP address. Same options of any or host. There are some other ones here. I'm not going to ignore these options. It's just if I type any at this place, type in the question mark, we'll see them show up here. And this is where I'll explain them. This is where it gets really cool, because this is the portion where we're going to use the TCP or UDP port numbers that we spoke of out of the transport layer header. So let's see here. We're going to start with EQ. It stands for equals. So match only packets on a given port number, or this exact port number. The syntax of this would be EQ space, let's say 25 for SMTP, because that's the port number. The next that I want to cover is greater than, or in this case, match only packets with a greater port number than 25. So it would match 26 on up. Another is lower than. Again, if we use 25, it would match below 25. A range. This can be 1 to 1024, which is all the well-known ports that are available for TCP and UDP. You may want to block them and allow just return traffic above the well-known ports. Now you see there are some other commands in here that we can issue. Let's look at them for a moment. Log, we're going to log an entry. Log input, we're going to log including the input interface. Precedence. This is a field in the IP header, and if you go back a couple slides, you'll actually see that. What you need to understand, though, is that field is not used. It's 3 bytes within the type of service field. It's the first 3 bits, and it's not used. Next, type of service. Although it is used, there's only 4 options there, and I have never seen it used in a real-world access list. So not as important. Understand that it's available, and if you need it, you can look at those 4 options. Beyond that, we have the established. The established command is used with connection-oriented protocols, like TCP. Right now, let's just table that command and say we're going to discuss it later, because in another video we have it to where we understand how a connection-oriented protocol works and how the established command with an access list will help us in that scenario. Alright, I think that's it for our access list command. Now we can move on to the next section. Excellent. Alright, so far we've covered the IP header. Next we're going to move into the access list command. Let's take a look at that. Here it is. Access